Konnichiwa. Welcome to the Samurai Way podcast, where ancient Japanese wisdom meets today's challenges. I'm Lori Tsugawa, author of Let the Samurai Be Your Guide, speaker, and your host. This episode, I'm joined with our special guest, Harold Payne, for a conversation that will encourage you to live with courage, purpose, resilience, and honor. So a bit about Harold and his background. Harold Payne is a multi-platinum and Pazzi Award-winning songwriter, performer, and speaker whose uplifting music has touched audience around the world. He has written songs for legendary artists including Rod Stewart, Patti LaBelle, The Temptations, Bobby Womack, Kelly Rowland, Peter, Paul, and Mary, and even Snoop Dogg. His songwriting has earned international recognition, including contributions to award-winning and chart-topping albums. As a performer, Harold has maintained an extraordinary career, averaging more than 200 shows per year. Imagine that. He has opened for renowned artists such as Van Morrison, Kenny Loggins, Heart, Air Supply, and Brother Is. His signature blend of soulful vocals, heartfelt storytelling, humor, and spontaneous song creation makes every performance unique. Whether on a concert stage or a corporate event, leadership conference, Harold inspires audiences with music that celebrate hope, resilience, and the possibilities within us all. So please help me welcome Harold Payne.
My honor to be here.
You want to give us just a little bit of background? I told you about the amazing career you've had, but how you got to there.
Actually, my first instrument was the ukulele, and then I moved to the guitar. And I actually started when I was about 20. While I was at UCLA, I was studying actually Spanish, and in graduate school linguistics and teaching English as a second language. But I ended up playing in a R&B band, like a Motown type group, when I was about 20, and then evolved into being more of a solo singer-songwriter as well. And I have a group, Gravity, now called Gravity 180, that I've been playing with. So I've literally been making my career as a musician and a singer-songwriter since I was 20, which is a number of decades.
We both know about that. And also, Harold, when we spoke, you talked about how you got into what you're doing and where you lived in California and being introduced to the Japanese community. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I was introduced to the Japanese community almost from the time I was born, because I grew up in Gardena, California, with a very large Japanese American population. The majority of people, pardon me, on my block growing up were Japanese Americans. And actually, I didn't know about the camps or any of the 442 members until I was about 20 years old. I went down to the corner gas station on 153rd Street by Spot Market in Gardena to Harry Komatsu's Texaco station, and I said, "Harry, I haven't seen you for a while. Where you been?" And he said, "Well, I was in France." I go, "What was happening there?" He said, "Well, they had a parade and a celebration for us." I said, "For what?" He said, "We liberated their town from the Nazis." I just was like, oh my God, I knew nothing about it. They never talked about it. I had 3 442 veterans on my block growing up that were all role models to me as human beings before I even knew about their heroics. They never talked about it, and it was only much later that they talked about it. And meanwhile, during all that, I was, had my career as a singer-songwriter, and was started getting songs recorded by the people that you mentioned, and also performing a lot. And as fate would have it, I was asked to perform for the anniversary of the Nisei Veterans, VFW. And I wanted to have something special, so I wrote 2 songs for them. One was called Quiet Heroes, and the other
Yes.
one was called the One Puka Puka and the 442. For those that don't know, the One Puka Puka, a puka shell in Hawaii is a shell with a hole in it, so it signified like a zero, like the 100th infantry, the One
Mm.
Puka Puka, and the 442. So that, and then many years later, I was part of a performing group that did several shows called Sansei Rocker. I was kind of an honorary Sansei because I played in a lot of these situations. And we played at the Aratani Theater, which was like 1,000-seat venue in
Uh-huh.
Little Tokyo in LA. And a lot of people that were there called, mentioned to David Ono, who's a well-known newscaster here, um, uh, that you should put that song in your show because
Mhm.
I performed Quiet Heroes at that event, and that opened up the door to me start performing there. And then some people heard the song from there, and then I got a call from this guy in Hawaii who was doing a documentary about the 100th Infantry.
Mhm.
And what was really interesting to me is that after I did the show at the Aratani Theater, there was two or three people that came up and almost literally grabbed me by the shirt and said, "You got to do a song about the 100th Infantry," because many people feel that they didn't get their proper due because they were 8 or 9 months before the 442nd, and they lost so many men that they got assimilated into the 442 Regimental Combat Team. And but they did so much that they were able to keep their name. So it's the 100th separate 442nd, and a lot of people don't only know about the 442. So that's why he's doing this documentary.
That must have been an honor just to. It's well received, wasn't it?
Yes, and we actually got to go on a tour of all the battle sites in your as part of the 100th Seeds. It's called the 100th Seeds of Aloha movie. So he took us to all the battle sites. There was like 12 people in a little van, and we went all through Italy and France and Germany.
Uh-huh.
And I had to come back early because David Ono's Defining Courage show was in
Oh.
Hawaii. The guy in
Mm-hmm.
Hawaii was in Europe, and David Ono was in Hawaii, so I had to leave early to go there and do those shows in Maui and Oahu.
Mm.
So it's really been a great honor to do that. And my late wife was a sansei and had
Uh-huh.
two uncles that were in the 442nd.
Wow. Oh. So you really have, you are an honorary, right, Sansei? We're all baby boomers, most Sansei.
Yeah, I grew up with all the multisyllabic names, the Tanakas, Nakagamas, Nakagawa, Sumitomo Sagawa, all the kids that I went to school with.
Hmm. Well, when you were in school, did was being mostly or a lot, not, I don't know if it's predominantly, but many Japanese American, it would probably be much different than I experienced school because we were really the minority. It was just our cousin's family and us. But was it was it a congenial
Well, very
upbringing?
congenial. I mean, everybody got along. We had,
Oh.
um, the we the Hakujins. We were called patties. That was like a rice patty is
Rice
white,
patty. Hmm.
and the Buddha heads and patties. You know, it was a term of endearment.
Hmm.
And I grew up with most of the kids that I hung out with were sanseis
Hmm.
and grew up around. And and the girls that I went out with, most of them, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
and my late wife, as I mentioned, was a sansa.
Mm-hmm. So you really, not like you chose your life, but it's almost like it chose you, right?
Yeah, it chose me, but
Mm-hmm.
if I had the choice, I would have chosen it as
Mm-hmm.
well. I was and I, of course, I learned some Japanese words, some more sophisticated than others. And then my group, actually Gravity, now called Gravity 180, had a deal with a Japanese label, Pony Canyon, a big label in Japan, and we did several tours there. And I actually spoke more Japanese than my wife did.
Oh.
So we were at a huge store in Japan, and she motioned for me to come over, and I said, "What?" She goes, "Ask her where the bathroom is." I said, "Sumimasen, oterai wa doko desu ka?" And
Jules.
she looked at me and smiled and put over and looked at her and gave her a dirty look, like, "How
Oh.
could you, how could you not speak Japanese? You know, you look Japanese."
Mm-hmm.
But
It is kind of funny.
she knew
Mm-hmm.
all the foods.
My parents didn't want to speak much because they felt like their Japanese was the old school type Japanese,
Ah,
but they spoke to each other so that they didn't want us to understand things, and they would speak to each other in Nihongo. So that's why I took it in college, because I wanted to know what they were saying.
aha.
And now I love it. I love Japan. I just feel so at home, so healthy and happy when I go there. I can't wait to go back.
Me too. I was just there a few months ago
Hmm.
again, and I played at a club. There's a They had all these Peter, Paul, and Mary groups, and I had a song recorded by them, not in the
Hmm.
early days, like around 1980, but um, they they had all these groups that two guys and a girl that did all these Peter, Paul, and Mary songs, and so when I walked in there, they said, "Oh, Harold Payne," uh, you know, because they all knew my song. It's called "Music Speaks Louder Than Words." And
Mm.
so they all played it, and then we all sang it together at the end. It was a beautiful experience.
And what was like? Can you share about going to Japan? Like, how did you feel when you were there, and the first time you went?
The very first time I went, I was just traveling around the world as kind of a wandering minstrel. This was in the late '70s,
Oh, I see. Okay.
and I was kind of a little bit of an anomaly because there weren't that many, you know, musicians traveling around, and I ended up uh, staying with my friend Ken Sato was the DHL head of DHL in Japan, and he
Hmm.
had grown up in Gardena Torrance area. So uh, I stayed with him part of the time and traveled around and played music in a few clubs and stuff, and learned some Japanese songs.
Hmm.
My favorite was Anata by Akiko Kosaka
Hmm.
back in the day.
You shared so much, Harold. I just enjoyed this, and I'd like to continue this conversation. It's been great, but more about your defining courage, and that's it's still playing and it's still traveling, and that would be a great one, and almost like a segue to our next one. So, is there anything else you wanted to share before we go on to the next episode?
Um, it's just that it's an honor to do this, and an honor to be doing all the things that I'm doing that just kind of happened spontaneously and naturally, um, that was meant to be.
It was. It
Whatever the
was.
Nihonjin word for for that is.
I don't know. I'll have to ask. It's meant to be. I know what it can't be helped is, but that's not what we want. I used to say my Nihongo was like akatan, and now it's more like kodomo, like a little kid. So I can speak a
Yeah.
little bit more,
Okay.
enough to get around. So
Yeah.
that makes it, much easier to visit Japan and not have to take the tour and go. We just don't like to travel that way. So it's been enough to get around, enough to get on the Shinkansen, Takai, this like, no, just basic. What is this?
Yes. Like, Koko wa doko desu ka? Where am I?
Yeah. Okay. So I would like to say thank you all for being here, and you won't want to miss the next episode because we're going to go dive deeper into his career and learn more about him. So until then, I want to say thank you so much for being here. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. That helps us to continue the Samurai Way podcast and the Samurai Way teaching. So that's it for now. Mata ne. Thank you.